What would 2024 veteran coach Pat Narduzzi tell first-year coach Pat Narduzzi about this profession?
Wow, that's a tough question right there. It's a totally different deal, and I would tell them beware, be careful, and take care of your family.
There's nothing flashy and fashionable about Pat Narduzzi. He's just an old school, grind it out, work hard and like it kind of tough guy.
Why have you and Pitt been so good for each other?
I would say because I'm loyal, and I think they were looking for some loyalty. That's where I think it would start, Wes. I think, you know, Pitt had on a string of, you know, how many different head coaches through the years. And the last time they were consistent was when they had the great Dave Wannstedt as the head coach. And from, you know, when Dave left till I got here and have spent 9 seasons, going on number 10 this year, they haven't had continuity at the head coaching position. And I think we've got that now. And, you know, last year didn't go like we wanted it to, but we're going to find out what happens in 24.
Interesting you use the word continuity. I think the word they talk about would be your personality and the city's personality, your playing style and the historical playing style of the school. But yet continuity is the first thing you said.
I always go back to why did they hire me? Because they wanted a guy that was going to be loyal, that wasn't looking, you know, to you know, have an agent and get an agent to get his name out there for every job that opens up. I'm not that kind of guy.
I know you have worked with and for great guys, maybe some with notoriety, some who probably deserve more, and others that you just had an experience with. Take me to their coaching influence and how it shaped your coaching.
Well, I think every coach I've worked with, you know, has shaped me in one way or another. Shaped me for a good, or you know, or taught me maybe, hey, I don't want to do it that way. I'll go back to Floyd Keith. And Floyd Keith, you know, Floyd Keith, old Indiana quarterback coach. I was, you know, with him at Rhode Island, which was I call it my first real full-time job.
What do we make it our real full-time job?
The real like 30 back in the day. Ooh. Yeah, like 30, 33,000. I think it might have been my. Maybe I'm confusing the first day or maybe my 7th year there. But you know, I learned a lot from Floyd Keith. You know, Randy Walker, I was a GA for. Yeah. I mean, Randy had a great feel for the team. You know, what the team was thinking. You know, he had a different mind about him. So I worked 3 years with Randy. That was awesome. You know, Floyd Keith talked about go to Northern Illinois with Joe Novak, who is outstanding. I mean, details come to mind when I think of him. He was so detailed. I still talk to him this day. He taught me tough love as a head coach. Like, he would rip our tails in staff meetings. You know, he ripped a you know, our special teams coordinator, D-line coach, one time for putting his coat on first at a high school clinic. You know, he came back the next day, he's like, don't you ever be the first one to put your coat on at a clinic, letting those high school coaches think that you don't want to be there. I'm like, ooh. So there's different things you learn from every guy. And then I worked for Terry Hefner, who was outstanding. I only worked with him for 8 months. He was our secondary coach back when I was a GA with Randy Walker. So there was that connection. But 8 months, you know, Terry was a great guy. Terry taught me that practice is overrated. Okay? Oh. Terry didn't want to practice. He had Ben Roethlisberger on offense, even though he was a defensive guy. He had Big Ben. I'm like, Coach, we need to practice over here. We're not just going to line up and look like Ben Roethlisberger. And then Mark D'Antonio, 11 years, I've learned a ton from him.
All right. I ask you all that to say, who were you thinking about when you hired a 31-year-old offensive coordinator in Cade Bell?
Who was I thinking of? None of them. You know, I think sometimes you got to be your own guy and go with your gut. So I can't tell you. I mean, I think the one thing I've got a good feel for coaches, and you know, I've never, you know, there's no age discrimination, old or young. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I can hire a 55-year-old coach, or I can hire a, you know, young coach. You know, when I was a defensive coordinator at Rhode Island, I hired an old guy, an old coach. And he asked me, like, why do you want an old son of a gun like me? And I'm like, why do you want to work for a young guy like me? That was John Gutekunst. I don't know if you remember John.
Goody.
Old Goody. Goody's like one of my favorite. I learned a ton of football from him. I want to learn from these old guys. I want to learn from these young guys. I think we can all learn something, regardless of an age.
Intercepted, and Jay Devonshire goes the distance for Pitt. The win for Pat Narduzzi against number 14, undefeated Louisville.
I think you're one of a few guys in this league who's influenced somewhat by being the son of a coach. Is that fair?
Fair, for sure.
So what characteristics of your dad, Bill, do you have as a coach?
Boy, I played for my dad back in 1985, so I wish I was in the coaching profession with him. I wish, he lived past age 51 and I could have really watched what he did.
Yeah.
But I saw it from the yard. I saw it from the kitchen table, and I saw it from that, my freshman year playing linebacker for the head coach, the defense coordinator, and the linebacker coach. So I would say I've got that toughness factor. I think I got the ability to communicate and relate to players that he had. Obviously a mind for football, I think. I mean, he was a defense coordinator. He had some great defenses. He developed his own defense. I feel like we've done the same thing here at Pitt and where I've been throughout the years. So I think it's football knowledge and football IQ.
Yeah, I'm curious because I've asked this question, like myself, to a lot of people who do the same thing their dad did. And it was countered to me one time, and I've asked it ever since. Do you do something on game day that reminds you of your dad, either unintentionally or intentionally?
Yeah, my dad always had a pocket rosary in his hand or in his pocket. So I've got that with me on game day. My daughters and my wife make sure I've got one of those available all the time in case I lose one, because I'm susceptible to losing things. So I've got extras. I could go in my briefcase tomorrow if you see me with it and unzip that thing. You're gonna see a bunch of them probably fall out of my briefcase. I've got to have one.